getting it, fella. Look here.
Stand by.
One for C-Lab, two for Draw Eagle, three for Wolverine to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Broadcasting live from inside the Power Band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, the Moverine, along with my super companions, Jarhigo.
Yo.
And Cyclops forever.
How's it going?
Welcome to the podcast, folks. This week, we are tackling and talking about the 2000 whatever, I don't know if you want to call it a classic. I think it is, or it's going to become one. V for Vendetta.
Don't call it a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. The adaptation of Alan Moore's graphic novel / series, V for Vendetta. Let's start the show. High level.
Yo, just before we get into high level, I was having a back and forth on Instagram with Carl Aguilar the other day, and he was saying that
Nice.
he loves all the nicknames that you give to me, like Slab and stuff, but he was thinking that I should be more proud of my heritage and go with Slyclops, which I thought was kind of funny.
Dude, nice. Shout out to Carl. Slyclops it is. I love it.
Yeah. So, we love you, Dad. I love you, Dad. You're my favorite action hero. Well, my second favorite. I actually like Arnie more than my dad because I'm kind of like a petulant teenager, you know, but that's fine.
Whoa.
Hey.
Whoa.
But when it comes to this one, now I'm thinking about Sly as V, and it's kind of throwing me, and I kind of want to just go into that for a minute, lean into that one. But I'm really curious to hear your guys' high levels on this because I watched this one about 6 months ago and had a certain vibe with it, and then watched it again in prep for this and had a different vibe, and I don't know how I feel about it, so I might defer for a moment.
Has anybody else read the book?
I read it a long time ago. Yeah.
Negative.
I read it. Who wants to go first?
Well, I just said I'm deferring, so you or Benny?
Oh, you're deferring. How about old Ben Higo? You feel like going first?
Okay, sure. I'll go first.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. I've only seen this one other time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
The first time I watched it back whenever it was. And, you know, I thought it was good. I might have been a little Wachowski'd out or something at that point.
Yeah, I get that.
So I haven't seen it since. You know, I enjoyed it. I'm not 100% on board with Natalie Portman with the British accent. Hugo Weaving is amazing. I don't know why we don't see him in more stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed it. We'll leave it there.
Nice. Short and sweet. All right, I'll go next. I could almost sum up my high level in saying that I was on my second go through right before the show. I was watching it in chunks and I was pissed I didn't get to finish it. I love this movie. I agree with you about Natalie Portman. I still, when I watch it, I'm like, she's got it most of the time. Sometimes she doesn't. That being said, she's still...
Sometimes it's great.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's glaringly not great.
Yes, agreed, 100%. That being said, there's so much going on here that's fantastic. I'm able to overlook that. I've seen this movie, 50 times. I love this movie. I could watch it any time. It hasn't diminished in all of the years. I've owned numerous copies of it, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, and was happy it was on HBO Max because that made it easy to watch. And like Ben said, Hugo Weaving. Somebody wrote I was watching like a YouTube video about this. Somebody wrote in the comments, like, Hugo Weaving should get an Oscar for this performance. I don't know about that, but it's really, really good. And I agree with Ben Higo that why we don't see him in more stuff is like a mystery to me because he was so damn good in this. He actually replaced the original actor who was supposed to play that part, and they filmed a lot of it in a similar kind of Eric Stoltz, Michael J. Fox situation. And he's just so damn good. But it's not just that. It's that it's a different adaptation than the graphic novel / series, but I think they were able to pull it off well. I don't know if they would have been able to do it in its original form. And I think they did a really good job of making it different and still kind of having the same outcome and theme as the graphic novel was exploring. And, you know, it's just like the sets, the actors, the music, the dialogue. Like, it's so good. And there's so much memorable stuff in it. It's just excellent, man. I love it. Done.
Done and done. Yeah, I definitely vibe with that for sure. I watched it, as I mentioned, I watched it 6 months ago, and I didn't feel like it held up at that time. And I don't mean that it wasn't enjoyable to watch. I just felt that it was really like, I don't know. I think it was me processing watching it after a long hiatus with the, you know, recent history and COVID bullshit, where I was really feeling nihilistic and was really just like looking back at my 2006 self in the Bush years, being like, yeah, fuck this, down with the government. And I suppose like my naivete was such that I was like, yeah, we're being oppressed, you know. I listen to Rage Against the Machine all the time. Yeah. And just not realizing how far we had to fall, you know, in this kind of like post 9/11 world that we've lived in. And so I felt very nihilistic watching it 6 months ago, and was just like, we're never going to be able to come together as a people and stop this type of, you know, fictional oppression. But watching it this week, I kind of maybe realized I was in a really dark place a few months ago, still in the depths of COVID stuff, and maybe a little bit more optimistic this time around. But I still feel like, even if you just take the you know, global COVID deaths as an example of how we as a species just don't really take good care of ourselves, it makes it really hard for me to buy into the heroic, there's something good in all of usness, because it's just has been disappointment after disappointment recently for me. So I know that's a very dark place to go, but I'm curious if any of that kind of resonates at all, and if you had any of those types of, I don't know, thoughts watching a movie about this type of like overthrow the fascist dictatorship bullshit.
Ben, would you like to comment on that first, or no?
I think I was only able to enjoy this because I tried to just watch it in a bubble and not think about the rise of right-wing authoritarianism in the world. But that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
I think I was able to watch it in a bubble as just a movie that I love, but one of the reasons I've always loved it is because of that, like, stand up to tyranny aspect of it, you know. It seems to mirror so much of what's happened in the last 20 years, you know? So I find that kind of weird. I find it even weirder that he wrote this in the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like so
prophetic.
Mirrored. Yes, thank you. Prophetic. Some of the things that have happened, you know? And the movie actually really was, I'm pretty sure, introduced the whole virus aspect of it.
Yeah,
I think that was in the original graphic novel. I read it once a long time ago, and then I started reading it the other night, and I just couldn't get there very deep into it. But I find that incredibly prophetic. So I don't know, man. I find it interesting and cool, you know, that like something written that long ago could, you know, somewhat predict what's happened and what's happening. So I don't know. I find that very cool.
Yeah.
And you know, there's you know, kind of to what you're saying, Chad, you know, like you're like losing faith in humanity and you're going to some dark places, and it's like it's, you know, somewhat a message of hope in that respect. You know, it's like you got to keep the faith, really. I mean, the theme of faith works kind of interestingly both ways in the story, in the movie. You know, it's like the government's always talking about, you know, faith through unity, and, you know, the sort of the message from the other side, from V, is, you know, there are good in people. You got to have faith and you got to stand up, you know? So it's a cool interplay.
It is. And I think maybe where I was driving at, which we've covered, but just to say it in a sentence, is like my 2006 self was optimistic, and I'm finding that I'm swinging more into the pessimistic side of things these days. But I think much more so 6 months ago than today, you know? So maybe it's just depends where your headspace is at when you watch it. And maybe I should have attempted the bubble watch, but didn't. So
yeah, no, I mean, look, I very much watched it like I normally would. Like, it's a great movie and I love it. You know what I mean? I've thought about all those things in the past, so, you know, it's easy to talk about them, but I definitely, it's super entertaining. So
yeah, I watched it solo a while back, and then last night I was watching it with my lovely lady lumps, and it's not really her style of movie. Like, she doesn't really care about that stuff much.
Wow, shocker.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a total, like, I don't know, young adult
Nerd alert.
boy movie, really, in my opinion, with all the like fucking wispy knife throwing action sequences and shit. Natalie Portman in a schoolgirl outfit, but I was like, oh, she'll just fall asleep 10 minutes in, like she does with everything I ever put on the TV. But
Right.
she ended up actually like fucking noping out halfway through the movie. She's like, I can't. I'm like breathing really shallow, and this is kind of freaking me out. So I'm just gonna go like watch some fucking home renovation shows. So I was like, all right, see ya.
There you go.
So it's kind of interesting to
Get that
observe,
perspective.
a normal human that's not a nerd like us and what they thought. So
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about some of the listeners' feelings about this movie.
yeah, definitely.
Hint, hint, listeners. And no, I don't mean handwritten letters.
I do.
Oh, right. Sorry. Handwritten letters only in cursive,
Mm-hmm.
which is also dying.
I'm sure there won't be a discussion on Instagram
Yes.
about it.
All right. So going off of what I was saying about faith, like there's a lot of themes explored in the movie. There's a lot of layers that I've certainly picked up over my many, many watchings. And, faith and loyalty and unity and, fear and, there's a lot of those kinds of things played around with in the script, which I think is one of its strengths. Like, it's not just a straight up action movie that's just like, buckets of blood and all of that sort of thing. It's there's really not. I was resisting trying to do that, but there's, like I remember seeing the trailer for this, and like in the trailer they showed like the 2 action scenes in the movie, and like he really only throws down a couple of times, like when he attacks Jordan Tower, and at the end when he has the final confrontation with Sutter and Creedy.
Mm-hmm.
So it very much looked like an action-packed movie when I saw it. And I remember seeing it the first time and like, having seen the trailer, I was disappointed. I was like, oh, I thought this was like an action movie, but it's not. And it's only like subsequent viewings have made me love it because there's, a real story there, an adapted story, but still a really real story. And they definitely stuck to a lot of the themes that the graphic novel was, messing around with, I think. I don't know. That's my first salvo. I don't know if that was just a bunch of jumbled nonsense or what.
That was good, man. I feel you on the action movie stuff, and then I feel like the opening sequence when V starts like monologuing with all of those words that start with the letter V, it really immediately just like shatters the action movie trope illusion, and you're like, okay, damsel in distress. He comes and saves the day. Now they're best friends. Blah, blah, blah. What the fuck is he talking about? Like, what? This is delightful.
Yeah.
Like, this is really interesting. This dude's weird. I think the film really hangs itself on the hook of V as the Guy Fawkes masked hero. And I think if there was ever, it's like Mandalorian, if there was ever a reveal of him,
you're dead.
It would have kind of, I think, it would have broken the illusion. And I think the fact that you never see who he is and he can be anybody is a really critical part of the film, if that makes sense.
I completely agree.
So I totally feel you on the like opposite stuff and the unity and faith and rising as a people stuff. But I feel like the linchpin is really the blank canvas of the Guy Fawkes V.
Well, yeah. I mean, he says it at the end, when he's saying, why won't you die? And he's like, beneath this mask, there's more than just flesh. There's an idea, and ideas are bulletproof. And if he had taken off the mask, it would have totally humanized him in a way and sort of just completely deep sixed that entire idea. You know what I mean? Which builds throughout the course of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I really wasn't going to say anything. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
No, I was just going to say, in like regards to the mask, like I am very glad they never actually took it off. There's some stuff jumping to the end of the movie with Natalie Portman's character where, she wants him to stay and he's like, no, I have to do it. And, when he comes back for her again, I'd almost forgotten. I was like, he's not going to take the mask off, is he?
Right.
But he doesn't. So I liked the way they handled all of that. Like, I like the fact that he comes back to sort of like, to just confess his love for her or whatever, but nothing
That too
happens, like it doesn't turn into some stupid thing. It just,
Yeah.
it's just like a little taste of, that tension that's always been there,
right.
sort of being released.
Well, it's kind of like
you've warmed my cold heart kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we get also, just to add to that, like we get hints of how he feels about her as we go through the course of the film. You know what I mean? Just like little things that he says. So it's this kind of this culmination of this forbidden love. You know what I mean? And I don't mean at all adding any kind of sexual component to it. Like it's pure, love, one human being to another. And I think that is what's so great there. Like what Ben's saying, like you get like the littlest hint of it, and it's like it never sees its way through, and that's the best part about it. It's like you're left with your heart aching, because you could tell that they really care about each other. Like he talks about how he discovered something when he met her, and he essentially, I think, discovered that love and caring for another human being, and that he hadn't had in so long in his life, because he's been essentially like
traumatized,
living underground for like 20 years and like laying track and like laying this whole plan out, So it's really cool to not see it, because it totally would have fucking ruined everything they had been building up.
Definitely. Yeah. And it would have
taking off the mask.
It would have especially ruined the Valerie passing the note thing, where like, I feel like the character of V was in love with the idea of Valerie. I mean, it sounds like the character would disregard the humanity of Valerie, but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like V loved the idea of Valerie, but like Evie having brought some delight into his life and seeing her kind of develop as a person and become stronger would have been like, he loved the actuality of her, So he spends 20 years loving the idea of Valerie, but like starts to like, I don't know,
realize it,
come alive again with the reality of a person who's actually like blossoming in front of him when it comes to her like shedding her fear and stuff.
Totally. Well said. Because
it's a pretty twisted interaction that they have, but I do buy him saying to her after she comes out of the prison cell, he's like, it's, I wish there was an easier way, but that was the only way. And I kind of buy that, even though it's a bit sadistic in her conquering her fears.
Now you're free, and I did it because I love you. You know what I mean? Because, just like she says at the end of the note, Valerie says at the end of the note, like, I have no idea who you are, but like, just know this, that I love you.
Dude, that killed me back in the day and still does.
Yeah, same here.
And I remember being completely like fucking, I see dead people twist Sixth Sense shit about V torturing Evie as well in the first viewing.
How do you mean?
Oh, just in the obvious sense of just being like, okay, she's busted and then she's being tortured. And then wait, what? Like, you're free? And then it turns out she's being tortured by V. I was just like, holy shit,
Oh, shoot. Yes. I forgot about that.
It doesn't have the same effect, but
that felt like something was fishy during that part, but I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. I didn't know what was going on. One thing that always got me there was the guard that, well, we see a guard, who knows,
right.
what, but the voice of the guard when he catches her leaving Dietrich's place, I was like, that's V, like,
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like there were different voices throughout, but that one, like when he catches her, it particularly sounded like V. So
yes.
I was definitely confused in the first watching.
Yes, I'm remembering my first watching as well now.
I wasn't 100% sure, but it felt like something that was fishy.
It's kind of one of those things where you want it to, like, so often in a film, the creators will leave little breadcrumbs for you, and you pick them up on multiple viewings maybe, but maybe it's a little gripey here, but it would have been nice if there was no hints. And they kind of do it in the prison sequence where, like, there's at one point, there's just a couple of maybe like 1 second of the silhouette of the person interrogating her, and it's Creedy. You can definitely tell it's the actor that played Creedy.
Yeah. And
I think it's implied that it's somewhat of a disoriented kind of misperception by Evie, but I feel like because you're sitting there as, you're kind of taking on as the audience the perception of Evie. I almost feel like they could have just not had Hugo Weaving at all, and maybe had somebody impersonate his voice or something, so that there was just like no clues, and that might have given it a little bit more heft. But I hear you on the fishiness. If you're paying attention, you might just catch it first viewing.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like I'm thinking back to my first viewing, and I think two things happened for me. Like I thought something was fishy because just like Ben, I was like, oh, that's V. And then like as the prison sequence started to go on, I kind of got wrapped up in like the reading of the note and the interrogators and how harsh they were. And then I was like, oh no, it couldn't have been a V. Like this is like a real thing, you know? So I kind of swung back the other way completely. And then, you know, when she walks out, then I was like, oh, okay, it was him after all, you know? So, and they did, what I'm saying, I guess, is they did a good enough job after that point when he first puts the bag on her head outside Dietrich's that I did believe it.
Yeah.
But I definitely thought that. That was my initial thought.
And she really sells it with her breakdown on the floor of the shadow gallery afterwards, you know?
Yeah, totally, man. She does a really good job, barring some of the accent work.
Except for some of the accent work. Yeah.
Anakin. Ooba. And there's V. Ooba. You cut my hair. Ooba.
Just a testimony to, you know, Lucas's shitty directing style.
Fucking guy.
That she's, you know, been so impressive in so many films, but was just so awful as Padme.
Yes.
Padamame.
Did we mention this movie when we were talking about her in that professional episode?
Probably. Almost certainly.
I mean, because I don't know. I really like, I mean, just what I said, like, aside from some of the accent work, like, she really did a good job.
She did. You know, I love Natalie Portman. She's one of my favorite actors of our generation. Probably because I had a huge crush on her, and, you know, she and I are the same age and all of that kind of crushy bullshit. But,
okay,
you know, Natalie Portman being amazing aside, she was not as amazing as her 90s outfit that she was wearing throughout half of this movie. That was the most late 90s, early 2000s collared, short sleeve Delia's catalog t-shirt with fucking khakis and a belt that wasn't through the belt loops. I was so just like, wow.
And then after she gets her hair cut and she starts living on her own again with her cement block bookshelf, she's like totally rocking like a Matrix look, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
She should be living on the Nebuchadnezzar with fucking...
She's, with Mouse and Cypher. And she's got Cranberries posters all over her fucking room in the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, Cranberries posters, totally.
Yeah.
With their tanks and their guns
and their
bomb.
Yeah. She takes a turn. It's pretty funny.
She's definitely got a couple Liz Phair albums.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, dude.
I have to say the pacing was I'm even though I've seen it recently, I had misremembered the pacing, and I thought it was a slower film, but watching it again the last couple of days, like, it really is just like bam, 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 you know, with the intercutting with the detective work by the inspector really drives the story, and it really keeps it on a tension line of pacing, which I appreciated.
Same. It's really nice. Moves along at a nice clip for a almost 2.5 hour movie. Yeah.
Covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I found myself engaged pretty quickly. My saltiness over, you know, really just wanting to watch Dune again and having to watch this was it went away quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I had a similar experience because I wanted to watch Dune again too, and then I was like, I gotta watch this movie. I was like, I gotta watch this movie for the show, and then I was like, oh wait, this is a movie I really like.
I gotta watch this movie that I picked for the show.
This will be great.
I too wanted to watch Dune. I'm
sorry, Chad. What was that?
I just said I didn't want to watch this movie that I picked for the show.
Yeah, right. Let's since we mentioned Finch, this was let's talk about him for a minute. Like, this was I think this was my first introduction to Stephen Rea. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I've seen him subsequently in other movies, and he is just an excellent actor. And I really, really like him in this movie. I really like his character. It's a different. They took him in a different direction than the book. You know, the book was very like the five guys that sit at the table in the movie. Like, they all were kind of much more front and center, all of them in the book. That being said, I like his kind of expanded role in the movie and kind of teetering on the edge of like, you know, figuring out this greater mystery and like what's really true and what's really not true, you know?
Yeah, he was excellent, man. He was,
Right?
I definitely found myself vibing with his performance in this film. And like yourself, I know I've seen him in other stuff. I couldn't tell you anything he's been in besides this.
Yeah, same.
This and the opening scene to Excalibur.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if he was in that. I'm just saying it like it had every like English actor when they were starting out.
They almost cast him instead of Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah, exactly. And then the guy that plays Dominic, God, I can't remember his name. He's a pretty well-known English actor. He
Rupert
was
Graves.
Yeah, Rupert Graves. That's right. He plays what's his name? The inspector from Sherlock Holmes. He was in the Cucumberpatch version. Sorry. That's so stupid.
I like it.
Benedict Cucumberpatch.
Yeah, you fucking nerd.
Benjamin Cucumberpatch, man.
With your fucking glow stick rave hand signals spellcasting
Totally.
bullshit. Nerd.
Nerd. We're so smart.
Did you just make up the cucumber patch thing? I hope so.
Yeah, I did just
I
right
love
now. Anyway, he
was in
plays
that.
the who does he play? What's the name of the inspector's name in Sherlock Holmes? It's Lestat, right? Lestat, I think. Or am I thinking of Interview with the Vampire? Hard drive failing, folks.
There's some similar DNA there, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And he was the news guy in this one, the fucking Fox News dickhead.
No, he was Stephen Ria's police sidekick.
Oh, that's
inspector
right.
sidekick.
Sorry. Yeah. The two of them were great, man. No doubt. They, from what I understand, because it's been so long since I read the comics, it was way more muddy as to good and evil, and even the Chancellor kind of had some redeeming qualities, which is more realistic from a storytelling perspective. But I don't know. I see the value of tidying things up a bit here and giving the audience a little bit more sympathy with the inspector, and the fact that he takes the audience along with the like exposition and talking about, you know, what's happening, and the fact that he's not just like, fuck it, I'm also a, you know, proxy Nazi or whatever.
So fucking SWAT.
Really, it's so SWAT. I think it was smart. It was smart to kind of make him more classic good versus evil, which I recognize is really kind of vanillafication and whitewashing of the you know, depth of the story, but I think it makes it more accessible to the audience, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think it's forgivable because, you know, you're going from a comic book medium to a movie medium, and even though one could say that comic books are well suited to movies because it's like paneling, you know, it's like you write a storyboard out for a movie, it's essentially a comic, right? But at the same time, it works well with the way they're trying to tell the story, meaning the altered version that they're trying to tell the story, you know? So agree.
Yeah. Speaking of Finch and the story, I like the way, as you're watching the movie, you're on the inside and you know what's going on, but it's really entertaining watching Finch put two and two together and figuring everything out, you know, like seeing that process unfold is really cool when you're already in and you already know what's going on, more or less, you know. I mean, you're learning some of the stuff with him, but a lot of the stuff you're already there. So I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's well handled.
Yeah, well said too. And I think to expound on that, like this movie's interesting because like you're taken through the movie, and I think the POV is Evie and Finch.
Yeah.
You know, so oftentimes in movies, and we've talked about movies like this recently, like you're being taken through the movie by one particular character or the main character or whatever. And I like how in this movie, both of the characters are on their own journey, you know, of discovery, and you get to ride with both of them, and it kind of passes you back and forth. You know what I mean? So you get to see multiple perspectives of what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And I really, really like that a lot, you know?
And as a result, you know more than each of the individual characters, which puts you in a position of I don't know. Like I think that there's a certain amount of delight when you are an audience person watching a movie where you know more than any of the characters, where you're like, you're put in kind of a, I don't know, this sounds dumb, but you're put in like a godlike position, which I think is like enjoyable. You're like, it's like the know-it-allism. You're like, I know what's going on here. This is entertaining. And these characters don't know what I know. And it puts you in an interesting spot.
Yeah. But there's definitely a way to do that isn't
annoying,
quite as satisfying as this when you watch it. Like I've definitely seen some movies where it's just, you're too, there's no, that the handling of that, like giving you a little bit of that sort of God mode thing, like can be like can backfire really hard. Depending. So
no doubt.
And it's also like if it's not done for a good reason, like I kind of feel like some horror movies are like that, where you're like, don't go in the room, the monster's in the room. It's like, it's just there to make you feel nervous. It's not there to like do anything else. And so I feel like the reason that you're put in God mode here is a very good reason,
Yeah, bad horror movie is a good example. It's like the girl's running through the woods, and you're like, she's gonna trip. She's gonna trip. Or like the whatever Jason's like hiding in the shed that she just ran into, or like just that kind of shit, like where you're just like everything that's going to unfold in the movie before it actually happens.
Yeah.
You know what else I find really cool that's along the same vein is the way I wrote this in my notes, like the way like the story's really well written, and I guess we can thank the Wachowskis for that because they wrote it, but James McTeague directed it. I think I got that right. And
yep,
the way they use the flashbacks to tell the story. So like, so often in the movie, it's just like, similar to what Ben was just saying about the POV, the God mode thing. Like, you get flashbacks and it's like, okay, here comes the flashback. But the way they did it in this was as he went along and took revenge on each person that was instrumental in creating him, and in certain cases subsequently creating, the situation that they're all living in. We get the backstory really nicely blended in to each one of those encounters, like the bishop and Prothero, and especially the coroner.
Yep.
Delia Surridge, and I really thought that was a great use of a simple and old technique, using the flashbacks. So that was really cool. I really like that. And they did it in other places too, not just there. Like when Finch and Dominic are talking about Evie for the first time, when they really kind of like get on her as helping him, or they can't figure out, what her deal is with him. And we get the whole backstory about like her parents and all that. And then she tells more of it when, she wakes up in the Shadow Gallery for the first time. So it was well woven into the film and the story.
Yeah, as opposed to like a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings thing where it's like the first 15 minutes are like in the 7th age of man, like all of this shit. Yes. All of the exposition in this was revealed through the interplay of the inspectors and the flashbacks. Like,
right,
but you get like taught everything that you need to be taught, but it's not beating you over the head with exposition. It's like you said, it's crafted in the right way so that you're totally like, right, yeah, cool, like, this is entertaining. I'm being told a story as opposed to being told information.
Instead of being smacked in the face with a giant fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's seamless integration, I think, is really what I was going for. As opposed to like what Ben just said, like slapping in the face.
There's nothing more frustrating than poorly handled exposition.
Ugh.
Hey, Billy, do you remember that you're recently divorced and that your kids hate you? Like, yes, I do remember that. This is like, oh my God, guys.
Shoot me, yes.
This is really important for the story I'm foreshadowing here.
Yeah, the more I think about this, zooming out a little bit, I think probably what I really like about this movie, more so than like the subject matter, or if that makes any sense, is just the way the story unfolds in the movie and the way they tell the story in the movie makes it something that I may not even be all that interested in very entertaining.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then you get that I kind of felt like my first observation of this, it was subtle, but it's really not that subtle. But the kind of mirror opposites of Evie and V, where, you know, the whole one was born in fire, one was born in water, kind of, they really make them mirror images of each other. And
Right.
kind of she's a Padawan to him in a way, you know, but kind of not, you know. It's an interesting layer on top of all of the layers that we've been talking about so far.
I think she's definitely a Padawan. And I think that's part of what, you know, drew them together in the first place, I imagine.
Yeah.
Or at least what initially drew V to her. V to Evie. Well, that's a mouthful.
Hey. You get a power bar going over there or something?
He did. No, just a piece of chocolate, man. I'm trying to keep my fake energy going.
Chocolate is
delicious.
So yummy. Oh.
So anyway, we shouldn't be eating on the mic.
Well, let's put it this way. Thinking of Evie as a Padawan is sort of, it was the way I was able to stomach the entire torture, you know, section, stomach it without, you know, without it being too cringy. Like if I was able to think of it as like some kind of Padawan training, then.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about that, I don't know if you guys mentioned this when I got up for a second, but in the original story, that's what happens. It ends differently. He dies, just like in the film, but he's trained her, and so she kind of picks up the mantle of V. I mean, they leave it kind of ambiguous at the end of the movie, and it could very easily be the case, but that's definitely what happens in the original story.
Yeah. I have to say that I have zero fucking interest in Evie being Robin who becomes Batman. I just don't fucking care. I much prefer Evie is now has woken up. It's just so much, I don't know, so much better.
That's what makes the movie so good.
Yeah.
Is kind of what you just said right there. Not really commenting on the Batman thing, but just the fact that they made an adaptation of the book that was different. Yes, I know they didn't stick to Alan Moore's original thing, and I know he hates it, and he hates everything, and that's fine. But they were able to make a really good, cohesive story. They made some different choices, like that one, Chad, that was, I think, really, really strong. And it really made the visual interpretation of the story turn out really well, the movie interpretation.
Yeah. I do think that this adaptation vanillifies the source material, but sometimes I like vanilla ice cream, you know, like I think it is definitely an oversimplification of the source material. I definitely think some of the nuances lost. I know one of the biggest gripes that Moore has is that it's not overthrowing authority, it's anarchy versus authoritarianism, and that subtlety is missed here, blah, 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 blah. I think that the source material is elevated as a result of the simplification of parts of the movie.
Yes.
I think it's better for it.
I agree.
And maybe it's better for it just in the movie medium, but I think it's better for it.
I think that's well said.
As I haven't consumed the source material, I'll just bow out on that.
The books.
I mean, you know, I guess it's kind of a little bit of a different story, and I like the story that it is, you know, if that is worth anything.
I think it's worth a lot, man, because I totally agree with you. That's what I was, you know, alluding to before. Like they've, you know, not made an exact adaptation, and they made the story a little bit different because of it, and vanilla or not, like it works really well.
Yeah.
And it makes for a really good story in and of itself, and it's really well done. I mean, the writing was great. The dialogue was fantastic, whether it was made for the movie or taken from the original story, and it's just, you know, it's just great. Works great.
Less filling.
When I was a kid, I was 16 or so, I think, and we had some exchange students come over, and they were Bosnian exchange students during the Bosnian War, and
oh wow.
We ended up having a Bosnian kid stay with us in my house for like, I don't even know, like 9 months or something. And like he was coming from Bosnia where like you had to run between buildings because the snipers would shoot you when you were getting food, like a really fucking hardcore shit. And being a 16-year-old kid in Nantucket of all places, like the most white bread fucking privileged place in the world, you just don't know how narrow your point of view is.
No.
And then this kid, you know, he's the same age as me. He's 16, skinny little nerdy kid, and like he's been through some shit, you know. And I remember we were watching, I think we watched The Rock with Sean Connery and Nick Cage.
Yes.
And I was loving the movie, and this is like when it came out, watching it on fucking VHS or something, and he was just like, this is so fucking stupid. I hate this fucking movie. And I was just like, why? And he's like, oh, it's because it's just you fucking Americans are always saving the day. Like, it's bullshit. Americans are the best bullshit. And it really struck me because I just I'd never really thought about it from that perspective. And he's coming from this really fucked up place, you know? And yeah, I think some of the writing on one of the terrorist crates was like in a language that he understood. And he was just like, this is so dumb. And I feel like it's similar here, where I feel like this is an Americanized version of V. You know, they took the subtleties of kind of British anarchy versus, you know, Thatcherism and kind of whitewashed it into the classic American good versus evil. I do, as an American, think that it's better for it, like, you know, what we were just talking about. But it is interesting to observe that it is kind of a Hollywoodization of you know, a kind of
anarchy in the UK,
darker work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair, man. It's an interesting pie that we've been baked, right? Because it's an adaptation of a comic story by an English writer. It's an American movie that's populated entirely, or 99%, with British actors, except for Natalie Portman. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting. I think all of that stuff actually makes for an interesting movie.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was kind of like right place, right time. It all just worked together well, you know, because that American kind of take on that, while it is a little like, you know, we're so SWAT, it's good. It makes it good.
It's really just that there's no ambiguity of good versus evil. It's like all of the guys at the table are evil, basically, and everyone else is good. And, you know, Evie is a prostitute in the comic, for example. And
yes,
you know, she and Dietrich are an item, and Dietrich isn't a gay dude who is oppressed. And, you know, there's like, it's just like, I totally get how people would be like, oh, I really wish there was more depth to these characters and not everyone's totally good or totally evil. But I still stand by the simplification here services the story. So that's why I brought it up, I think.
No, I'm with you, man. It's well said.
Do we want to do some casty stuff? I don't really know a lot of these people, but I could swear I fucking could have seen them a million places.
We've been dipping in and out of the cast.
Started with Stephen
Rhea,
or
whatever,
however you say it.
John Hurt, for example, man, that was cool how he was Smith in 1984, and now he's like, you know, Space Hitler.
Space Hitler.
He did a great job as as Adam Sutler.
Absolutely.
That's it, Sutler. I said Sutter before.
Sutter Holmes.
I just saw the movie 50 times. No, he was fantastic, man. Tyrannical dude and scary.
Sutter Holmes is like a vineyard. I just ejected to look it up. I'll take a death for that. But I thought it was like a shitty grocery store brand, you know? It was like Sutter Holmes cinnamon rolls. And I just was, you know, imagining Adam Sutler's fucking fascistic cinnamon rolls, like just like all black packaging with 2 red crosses on it.
It's like a fascistic competitor to Pepperidge Farms.
Yeah, exactly. Sutler Holmes.
Oh, there you go, man.
Yeah.
Sutter Holmes remembers.
Sutter Holmes remembers us killing all the minorities. It's like, whoa, all right.
Can you imagine like the commercials for the wine?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm more in the cinnamon roll space, but either way, man.
Oh, okay, well, fair enough. The cinnamon rolls or the wine, like if he's all I can think about for the commercial is like his face, like giant in the TV, you know, like in the movie.
Yeah.
I want people to understand why they need us.
Cinnamon rolls.
The cinnamon rolls should definitely have, you know, like frosting in the shape of that, like double cross.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Other cinnamon rolls are made by inferior races. These cinnamon rolls. It's like, all right, dude. so funny.
Not one gay hand has been participated in the creation of this cinnamon roll.
Oh my god, I could totally see it, man. Yep, I could totally see it. Oh my god. He was great, man. He was great. I love the gigantic fucking doing a bunch of ecstasy eye, retinas or whatever.
What do you mean by that?
Like on the camera, he always had just huge dilated pupils, which kind of, I think, alluded to the fact that, in actual reality, Hitler was always fucked up on meth and, that kind of thing. I love that subtle nod to it.
His warm milk was spiked for sure, man.
Like the milk from Clockwork Orange or what?
No, because remember, like when Dietrich does the parody, he talks about having a glass of warm milk every night, and then at the end of it, when they show Sutler sitting in the chair, like he crushes the glass of milk.
Yeah, that would hurt.
It would.
That's my only comment. Like, that would hurt. Yeah, very observant.
I want people to understand why they need our cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, I hope it must have been intentional, but I love that he was he was Smith, the good guy in 1984, and he's a like hardcore fascist fuckhead in this. It's very ironic.
I didn't know that. I'd never seen 1984. But that's a nice touch for sure.
I always remember him from his piss take cameo in Spaceballs, having the hello my baby, hello my honey alien jump out of his chest.
I forgot about that. That was really good too.
He's
really good.
Yeah.
I'll have what he's having.
No, they're like, I think they both ordered the same thing, and and like that happens to him, and they're like, "What did he have?" And then they like change their minds because they, whatever the hell it
I
was.
fucking love Spaceballs.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. I don't know. I'm a huge John Hurt fan. He's great. So many of the things he's done. I loved him in Contact. I loved him as Aragorn in Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Just to throw out an old one. He's fantastic. He's really good in this. He's freaking terrifying, dude. And I love the juxtaposition between that and the end of the movie when he's just like, they drag him down the stairs and he's
weeping,
just whimpering and crying like a baby.
Yeah, no doubt. And that one scene where he's just like, the news guy is like, what happens if he succeeds? He's like, he will not succeed. He's like, well, yeah, but what happens if the only difference will be I will have Creedy's resignation? And Creedy's just like, fuck you, bro.
Oh, totally. You can see it in his face.
Playing those two off each other was a stroke of genius for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Creedy, I don't know that actor's name. I don't remember.
Tim Pigott Smith.
Is that right? I don't remember if I've seen him in anything else, but man, one of the other characters in the movie calls him Creepy Creedy at one point. Like, he is just exactly that. So creepy.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Yeah, same again. So many of these people look so familiar to me, but I just don't know them from anything else. He would have done a good job as the creepy priest here, the bishop.
Oh, yeah. You could have swapped them around. I've seen that guy, the guy that played the priest. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
He was fucked up, but his delight with Evie when she's trying to tell him about V coming was just like creepy and brilliant.
Ooh, I love this. This is a new game. Ooh.
You have a delightful mind.
It's a game I've never played. So twisted, man. And like, is this the whole like right before all that when they're walking through the church and he's talking to like his underling, and it just so smacked of like just twisted, shady clergy. You know what I mean?
No
like
doubt.
the way he's like, that's not what I was referring to. I was referring to my last little joy.
Yeah.
It was like, ugh.
It's like, oh, well, they're not as young as usual, sir. It's just like, oh, you disgusting fuck.
Yeah, gross.
But maybe that's another example of just a couple of lines just immediately tells you everything that you need to know. And it's not just some big drawn out fucking bullshit like it is with so many movies.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really well said, man. Again, it's a great example of what we were talking about before.
One thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about V was just how emotive I found V, considering he was wearing a mask. Like, maybe it's just like you put the emotion on the mask, but there's so many times where you get a certain feeling from the way it's being acted. And I remember being really struck with that originally and I'm still struck by it now.
Good segue into Hugo Weaving. I had the exact same thought. Like, his brilliance as a performer is really exemplified in this role and doing exactly what you just said. You know, like he's so able to make his voice communicate. I mean, his body too, but I think his voice more than anything because he's essentially wearing all black and a mask, you know?
Mm.
So you don't really get to see his body language a ton. You do see it mostly in the shadow gallery, you know, and he's not wearing his full garb, but, you know, his voice is able to communicate so many different things without the use of facial expressions. And I just find it to be brilliant, man.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things in the movie is the way he says yes. And there's subtleties in the various different times he does it, which is quite a bit in the movie, that you can kind of glean different things from it, you know?
Mm.
I really like that. Yes.
Yes.
Would you prefer a lie or the truth?
Yeah, apparently Hugo Weaving can act with one arm tied behind his back. I mean,
Right.
to just gimp somebody's, you know, ability to express themselves in such a severe way and still have them. You know, I think there is. I mean, I don't know how much of it there is, but when he was able to use body language, there was a lot conveyed there.
No doubt.
You know, just the delivery of the lines and his, you know, his vision for the character and what he went with, I think is just, it's very iconic. It's very memorable.
Brilliant. Absolutely.
Just a tilt of a head or something, or the way he uses his hands or something. It just makes such a huge difference.
Yes.
Yes. It as opposed to like a Judge Dredd or, you know, maybe Andy Serkis as Gollum, where they're doing mocap or like you only see a small part of the face. Like, this is about as nerfed as you get. Like, there's nothing to see.
Definitely.
It's pretty impressive.
No, it really, really is. I was going to draw our friend of the show, Carl Urban, as a comparison, because Dredd was pretty close, but, you know, being able to see his whole mouth and jawline changes it a lot.
Yeah, even just seeing him like tense his jaw or something, like it definitely conveys something. So
yes.
The closest I can think of is Darth Vader.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or perhaps perhaps Mandalorian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mando
for a
for
more
sure.
Contemporary pick. But yeah, that kind of a full, you know, helmet, like no face whatsoever.
Yeah, I would say the closest thing, Ben, you're right. It's Pedro Pascal with Mando, for sure.
Because you get James Earl Jones as Vader, like that's just like a cheat code, you know?
Yeah, because Vader's evil, you know, and it's like you got the breath thing, and it's not really meant to be emotive. Like there's some emoting, like in Return of the Jedi and shit, but
it's just pure anger, pretty much.
Yeah, and most of the time it's pure anger. It's just a small amount, really, at the end of the third film. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
and even there, he's got the mask off for part of that.
Mando, on the other hand, did, you know,
dude, somebody
16 episodes now.
Yeah,
it's way more. What were you going to say, man?
Somebody did a meme where it's like one of those side by sides, and one of them is fucking Vader with his helmet off, and the other one is like aged balding Billy Joel playing a harmonica with like the harmonica, you know, like the harmonica holder apparatus.
That's great, dude.
I will put that in the show notes, but it is hilarious.
That's fucking amazing. I could totally see that shit, man. I mean, kudos to Hugo Weaving, man. Between this and Elrond, and maybe to a lesser degree Elrond, and Agent Smith, man, the dude just fucking murders it.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. He's just brilliant. Just the voice he uses throughout the film, the delivery of the various different lines, it's just everything has to be there, you know what I mean, because of the lack of facial expressions and, to a lesser extent, body motion and movement. So, you know, he gets like an A++.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. That was a Matrix death, by the way, for me.
Wait, what?
I said Agent Smith, so that's a Matrix death.
Yes,
for me.
you're right. Sorry, I've been really on top of the deaths this week. Gordon Dietrich, man, Stephen Fry, you know, really kind of unlikely. Not somebody that I would have expected to see in this movie. I mean, he's really classically a comedy actor. He had a show with Hugh Laurie called A Bit of Fry and Laurie way back when. I think that was like his big kind of first claim to fame, and he's always been more of a comedic actor. But damn if he isn't just fantastic in this movie, as the closeted, celebrity, trying to live his secret life, and the bond he kind of forms with Evie. I think it's fantastic, and he also adds a bit of lightness to it as well. He's a great actor. He's always a pleasure to watch, and I'm probably wrong in saying that he's more of a comedic actor, because now I'm thinking about him in all these other sort of non-comedic roles, like the mayor of Lake Town and shit in the Hobbit movies.
Maybe that's just how you remember him, as opposed to it being like a fact.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, no. I just, that's where he got his start, so I think that's why I think of him that way.
Yeah.
But,
he is a comedian, right?
well, yeah, or a comedic actor for sure. I don't know if he's like a straight up comedian, but in the sense of like stand up.
Yeah, I think he's done some stand up.
Has he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyways, probably something, but yeah, I definitely, I love Stephen Fry. I think he's great.
Always a joy.
Even though he had such a
it's a
short
joy.
amount of screen time here, his character had a great little arc. It opens with him in his office schmarming all over a younger woman, which is kind of creeptastic, and then you come to find out that it's for a good reason. So you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, right on. He's actually closeted and struggling, and it just really it took that interaction and really made it much more useful to the story. And evidently he pushed for all this stuff really hard, because he's not gay in the books, and he and Evie are a thing, and she's a prostitute, and it's just like, I think he's more of just a creepster dickhead. So from my memory, this does better.
The other thing I really liked too was the sort of I don't know what the right word is. There's like a parallel there between like they do the flashback when Evie's parents get taken and the mom runs in the room and she's like, Evie, quick hide. And then the exact same thing happens when she's at Dietrich's.
So hardcore.
Yeah. It was really, it was a cool use. And like, the violence in this movie, not to take away from Fry too much, but the violence is very intense at points in this movie. And one of the reason why I bring that up is because like when they bash him across the face and he falls on the floor, like the flashlight's right on him, you can see like how completely tuned up his mouth is. It's like, it's gross, dude.
Yeah.
Very graphic.
The cops that bag you, or not cops, I guess, the like Nazi SWAT team that bag you are super intense.
They're so SWAT.
So SWAT.
They're so super SWAT.
They're super intense.
Yes, they are. Very hardcore.
Like all the door kicking shit, is really ratchets the tension a lot.
No doubt. I also wanted to talk about Prothero a little bit, because like he's super creepy and scary too. In this graphic novel, his role is a little bit different. It's much more expanded, and he's not Louis Prothero, the voice of London. He's the voice of fate, but you never see his face. You only hear him in the book. That's the way they lay it out. So I liked his small arc, and I liked how insidious and evil he was.
No doubt. He played the perfect faux news host.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of the film opens on him, and you get his speech in the background as Evie's getting ready and V's getting ready.
Yeah,
and I liked, as a sidebar, I liked how they opened with the two of them getting ready to go out for the evening. You know what I mean? Like their paths eventually to cross. So that was I like the way that they did that with his voice spewing all that nonsense in the background.
Yeah,
Sort of like a
homosexuals.
slightly less unhinged Alex Jones or something.
I definitely got like Bill O'Reilly in the 2000s vibes, and I just love that scene of him in the shower watching himself and spouting it out at the same time. It was just perfect.
Oh God,
perfect ego,
so
perfect narcissistic bullshit. It was great.
Yeah, and I also loved. I even wrote this in my notes, like how when he shuts the TV off, it's like you see the blank screen of the TV, except for the perfect reflection just of V's face.
Right after he's just like, I just wish I had 1 minute with him. I would have sorted him out. It's like, oh, would you?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It perfectly showcases what I feel like is just the total vacuous weakness of those talking head fuckheads, and just he played it to a T.
He really did, and he didn't have a ton of screen time either, man. Like that part was pretty short because he gets greased first.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm risking a major cul-de-sac here, but I think
It's okay.
part of my part of my about the new Dune movie is how you've got like a Prothero who has barely any screen time and Stephen Fry's got barely any screen time, and they all just like make a mark. And I feel like almost all of the like main cast of Dune just does not get that same amount of screen time, you know, like
You're talking about the new
the
Dune?
new Dune, you know, like David Lynch like really does a great job of like Yue and, you know, Peter de Vries and all of these guys just really make a mark. And on this one, I just feel like it was really wasted. So I know that's like spoiler alert.
Yeah,
and shit, but
I mean, not to like, we that's be a great topic for when we do the Dune episode. I mean,
Which is
I
next
don't know.
week, so.
I could, which is what next
Yeah,
week?
it's next week.
All right. I don't know. I don't know. I want to say it's the writing and the acting. You know, I don't know.
Maybe.
You know, it's like I mean, they. You know, it's been said that like a great actor can take a small thing and make something great out of it. You know, I think it's kind of part the writing too. So I don't know. It's tough to say. It's a really good point, though. We should really try hard to remember that for next week.
Yeah.
Just think to yourself, Thufir Hawat.
Exactly.
Yes, the guy from Devs.
The dude from
Yes.
Devs. As soon as he got kicked off of Arrakis, he went and lived in a caravan, Silicon Valley.
You mean he lived in a caravan with like Mickey and shit, and then that was in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I just feel like they nailed it on this one. You know, this one really, so many of the characters had so little time and they all had a great effect, I guess is my point. So backing up your point.
Well said. I agree. Thanks for the backup, Robin.
Got you, bro. Like the coroner is a good example.
Yes, the coroner is a great example. She had a super small part, but you know, we get a lot of great like flashback backstory about Room 5 and, you know, obviously the connection between 5 and V and November the 5th, which was very cool. And also what I really liked was that she was, you know, the only one that was, you know, really remorseful and really, you could tell, tried to like get away from it and change her life and change her name, her identity, tried to run away, you know, tried to get a visa that didn't work, you know. So it was like she changed her name and changed her job. And I like how he just kills her in her sleep.
Yeah.
And she says, "Is it meaningless to apologize?" And he says, "Never." So there's like this. And again, you know, kudos to Hugo Weaving in that part, because not only is he wearing the mask, but the room's dark and you can barely see him, right? And it's like, there's just such a great interplay in that scene, you know, and she asks that question and he just simply responds, "Never," you know, and it's like he's accepting of her apology. But then he very quickly says, you know, "I didn't come here for what you intended to do. I came here for what you did do," you know, and it's like, I accept and I have compassion and you're still going to die for what you did. So super intense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Were you trying to chime in there, Benny, or were you just saying yeah before?
No, I was not trying to chime in there.
Okay. I thought I heard an interruption.
Negatory.
I particularly liked her reaction to the Scarlet Carson. You know, he's like, "Oh yeah, one more thing," and he pulls it out, and she's just like, "Whoa!" You know, like you can totally see that like cold adrenaline moment for her that is missed by the inspector, but as the audience member, like the camera hovers on her, so you're like, "Oh, there's something here for sure."
I didn't pick up on that the first few times I watched this, but yeah, you're right about that.
But on the 47th viewing, I totally saw that.
It was number 49
Yeah.
this week.
In the opening moments of the flashback, I thought it was interesting, her journal being read over the shots of the various patients, and she's just like, yeah, these, you know, these, I forget the word she used, but it was something, it wasn't quite like vermin, but it was just kind of like these disgusting people, blah, 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 blah. We're going to make England better. And then by the time it gets to the end, she's just like, what have I done? You know, it was interesting to see that transformation, even just in that flashback of just like, I'm doing something for the good of England and killing these disgusting people. And then it turns into her just being like, holy shit, I'm a fucking monster. You know, I liked that.
She says something like, "They're so weak, you know, they make me sick."
Yeah.
Like, it's so harsh. It hits me every time. It's just like, God damn, dude. You know, so she does, you're right, Chad. She does a great job of, you know, kind of going around the emotional spectrum in that sense, you know, because you get this very like, not apathetic, but cold sort of demeanor in that flashback, right? And then she's
Hmm.
you can tell like so regretful and so remorseful when she's laying in the bed. You know what I mean? And also like very accepting of like having accountability for what she did. You know what I mean? And yet also thanking him for not making it like something gruesome. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I don't know. There's a lot going on in that little bit there, and in her
Yeah.
little small part. You know, between the flashback and that.
Yeah, it's somehow like tense and menacing, but like tender at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little
Yes,
it's a little
yes.
cliche for the only female character amongst the gang of knuckleheads being the one that figures out that it was actually evil. Like it's very cliche, I think is the word.
Sure.
Because all the rest of the dudes are just like weak.
They could care less.
They're weak assholes who enjoy the suit of power that they're putting on, you know? Like even that guy that is in the archives where the inspector's like, so do you have the Lark-Hill information? And he's just like, yeah, I'm not really going to comment on that, you know? Like we had to
the
do what we had
military
to
guy,
do,
yeah.
you know? Yeah. And they're all just justifying their bullshit actions, whereas she's the only one that seems to be kind of like retrospective or like thinking about what happened. And
Yes. Yes. Wow. Well said. Yeah.
yeah, it's, I suppose the inspector kind of also has a similar like, wait a minute, we might have actually done this to ourselves. I need to kind of join the resistance kind of stuff, which culminates in the end where he doesn't stop her from pulling the lever in the train. But
Totally.
the fact that the coroner is the only one that really seems to grow at all when it comes to the baddies.
Yes.
It's powerful, but I don't know how I feel about it.
It is. Yes.
Some of my favorite parts in this show for us is when like anyone tries to say something meaningful and then other people are just like, I'm bored. I'm just gonna do something else.
It's become a hallmark of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm with you about
The problem is, despite how long we've been doing this, sometimes I'm just sitting here like nodding, you know, which is
an audio
not
medium.
helpful at all for a podcast. But you know, like
Yeah.
that's going on sometimes.
It'd be funny if every time you did that, you just said, I'm nodding.
I'm mostly just shit talking Kev. I love when Kev it's really happened a lot more recently. It was just like blah blah blah. Interesting thing about this movie. And Kev's like, sorry, I was just watching some Key and Peele. What you said reminded me of this thing that reminded me of this thing that reminded me of this thing that reminded me of this video. So I'm watching that. Like, okay, see ya.
That's essentially how my mind works. Yes.
So funny.
I gotta say, you're right 100%. And I've really worked hard to manage my energy between last night and tonight so I could be on point and take notes and
I appreciate it, man.
drink enough coffee and get enough sleep last night. It was a lot of work, actually.
I don't think you've had an ejection death yet, man. So kudos.
I have not ejected. I have not. I doubled down, man.
Love it.
Thank you. So, all right. So Delia, we did Gordon.
There I am nodding again.
There he is nodding again. That has to be a thing now. It's too funny. Yeah, that's it. We can go to like what did I say? The music and the fight scenes. Yeah, that's right. The music in this is like it's got a lot of great layers. In one sense, it's just kind of like a classic movie score, you know, like orchestral. But it's really iconic, you know, like that music gets in your head, you know. And every time I hear it now, I'm just like immediately I think of this film. And then there's other parts of it that are very kind of almost like throwback to like old kind of like what you hear like when they do the Guy Fawkes, the actual Guy Fawkes flashback, you know, and you hear like the kind of drums, you know, like the simple like older music like that comes back, you know, a couple of times in the film, like in the fight at the end. And I really like that a lot. It was just really well done. Like sometimes you were really like, you know, it blends well and helps tell the story, I think, is what kind of score it is, you know, but it's very good and it's very memorable.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I hadn't considered it until you mentioned the music a minute ago, but I think one of the things I like about it the most is how it's not Tarantino-esque in the sense that it has real, maybe pop culture isn't the right word, but real songs in it, but it uses them in a different way where I found that it does callbacks. So you've got that like Tchaikovsky opening and then the Tchaikovsky closing. And then you've got, kind of the like, Crimea River plays a couple of times. Like they're calling back to a previous feeling in a previous scene. And it kind of brings you back to that same spot. I kind of like that a lot. You don't really encounter the use of repetitive pop culture music. You do end up with, repetitive themes like, anytime Darth Vader's on the screen, the same fucking, Vader theme comes on. But in this case, it's just like the same Crimea River thing. And then there's like the two scenes where they're cooking the eggs and it's the Stan Getz song on repeat. Like it just brings you back to that place in that scene,
Shit. Yeah, you're right, dude. It's funny. My whole spiel right there was I was really referring to not the pop culture music. I was talking about just the score itself. But you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that I talked about that and you talked about that because that was cool. And you're absolutely right. I forgot about the whole egg thing in that music.
It's just a clever way to put you right back in the moment, considering how jumping all over the place you are and various characters in the story.
Yeah, Crimea River reminds me of The Masquerade is Over, which is very similar. And I love hearing it in the movie. It's really perfect. Sorry, Ben, what?
I was just going to say, I didn't think once about the music for this movie while I was watching it. So, that's probably a good thing.
Yes.
That means it's not bad. But I think maybe just I'm so dazzled I'm still so like deer in the headlights over, like I'm still blinded from the fucking amazing Hans Zimmer soundtrack from Dune.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
It's like drinking orange juice after eating pancakes with maple syrup. I hear you, dude.
Yeah.
The flavor lingers.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever you fucking said. Anyway.
It's like trying to do a vision test after you've just had a flash go off in your face.
There you go.
There you go. Right. Well said. Well, again, like I said, Ben, it's like, it kind of, the score itself, it very much blends with what's there. I think like you don't necessarily notice it, but if suddenly it got taken out, you'd notice that something was missing. You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of scores. We've talked about it before,
Yep.
Let's talk about the fight scenes.
There's
only really 3 big ones. I guess you could kind of count the one with the bishop, but there's not really much going on there. It's really like the Fingermen one in the beginning, and then Jordan Tower, and then the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things I've come to appreciate is that there's just a few fight scenes. It's not an action movie, but the fight scenes that we do get are really, really good, man.
Excellent. Did they have like a martial artist doing that, or was it actually Hugo?
I don't know.
They had 2 stuntmen, Hugo and then the actor that got shit canned. So I think it was a stuntman.
Well, nevertheless, yeah, some excellent fight scenes for sure.
There's a cool nugget about the end fight scene, which was they shot it where all of the SWAT dudes moved slower than V during the actual shooting,
Yes.
which helped make it look like he was superhumanly moving, which I thought was a clever way to get it in camera without speeding things up.
Nice. That is a nice nugget.
Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating than a movie where they speed something up and you're like, yeah, they're just speeding that up. Okay.
And it looks dumb and it looks weird.
Yeah.
Totally.
The knife trails were pretty cool.
Yeah, the knife trails were very cool. And like that, I like the Jordan Tower fight. It's like super tight, man. But you can still see a lot of what's going on, It's not that whole like annoying, you're in the fight. Like, I'm so tired of that. I can't even, makes me want to vomit. But like that one dude, man, like he like skewers that one dude and gets right in his face. And they do this perfect like hold on him for like 5 seconds and the music like stops. And then he just pulls the knife out and like turns away super fast. And it's just, it's super
the dude's
brutal.
like,
it's great.
A little bit of blood comes out of his mouth.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The Jordan Tower sequence is a great sequence and clever, especially with all of them wearing the masks and the fog machine stuff and whatever. It's clever.
Yeah. Super clever. All right. So bits and bobs, are we good? for that
Yeah,
now?
I think we're
Are
at
we
bits
ready?
and bobs.
Yeah. Everything else I have can fall in bits and bobs.
Yes.
Yes.
You're fucking all over that. Yes, huh?
Love it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Who's gonna fire
Yes.
first?
The little girl, man. The little girl with the Coke bottle glasses.
Oh,
Yes.
man, right?
Dude, she is such a critical part of this movie and having sympathy for the populace. And I loved her.
So good.
And that I love how she's used in the hypothetical, but it's not hypothetical where they're like, someone will do something dumb and the freaking fingerman just pops her with the pistol and then the dudes all just come up on him and just fuck him up. Like it's such a plausible example of that exact thing.
Yes.
And I suppose
Yeah.
tied to that little girl being awesome is I really appreciated and dug just how often the camera cut to the people in the bar or the people on their couches all watching this stuff on TV.
Yes. God, it was like its own character in the movie. It was like those the reactions of the regular people, man. I really dug that. And it wasn't like they really had any lines. It was like one here or there. Like,
They're all just like bullshit over and over. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because it is a great part.
Yeah. So that's definitely a worthy Robert.
A worthy what?
Trying to resist going, yes.
I know. See, it's addictive, dude. You can't stop. Yes.
Christ.
I said worthy Robert, which is worthy Bob, by the way. You missed that, I think.
Was it worthy, Bob?
Sorry, what was that?
I said it was it's bits and bobs. This is a segment we're doing, and I was going to say it's a worthy Bob, and I said worthy Robert instead, and it nearly broke you.
Oh my God. Not only did we not get it, it took us 3 tries to get to understand when we asked you again.
To understand my lame joke?
Yeah, and just ruin whatever was good in it completely.
There you go.
That's really what I was thinking. Especially on the third one when you went
Angrily explaining it to you.
Again.
Yes.
Kind of death.
Definitely. It's the density death.
Mm-hmm. It was a yes death where you guys were like,
Nice.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, right. Exactly. Too busy doing something stupid. So
You guys are too busy doing something stupid while I said something stupid. That's like the best distillation of this show that I've ever heard.
yeah. Wow.
It really is.
Ever more increasingly the name of the game these days.
Mm-hmm.
Though it always has been. I'm gonna go with Dietrich's little Benny Hill thing.
Oh,
with,
yeah.
Oh, so good.
It's like a perfect little Benny Hill sketch right in the middle of the movie.
Yep.
And just like adding the Benny Hill music was
Expertly
so perfect.
done. Yeah.
Expertly.
Yeah.
And shout out to John Hurt, like playing himself in that scene was just great.
With a totally different set of makeup. It made it, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool. I liked it. I guess I'll say this is more mechanical and visual, but I've always loved that thing that he jams into the door jamb or the door itself in Jordan Tower, and it like just fills it with what looks like cement. That totally makes the door, unopenable. I love that. I mean, the whole Jordan Tower raid is great, but I love that part.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell that gadget is, I want one.
I'm trying to think of what movie it was. Oh, wasn't there a Snatch the other day when the Avi, when Avi like pops the pill and gets on the airplane. It's like a super quick cut moment. It very much had that feel.
Yeah.
Where it's just like he stuck the thing to the door and it popped the stuff inside and then everyone's stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it was so, even though it was short, it was like you totally got that that's what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm nodding again. God damn it.
No, it's good. This is good. This is a good thing. We always need new blood here. Go ahead, Chad.
I gotta throw some Count of Monte Cristo love out there.
Oh, come on.
I think
I like a nice Monte Cristo.
Definitely.
I had forgotten that Count of Monte Cristo was such an obvious and important theme in the movie, and that like while I was thinking about V before watching it this time, I was like, Count of Monte Cristo really influenced this, and then like half of the movie is about watching Count of Monte Cristo, so I was like, oh, I'm not that clever, but it was a cool thing.
Ben, did you just say the Count of Monte Cristo?
I wish I had, but what I did say was I like a nice Monte Cristo.
I thought you said that.
As in the French toast, grilled cheese, and ham.
Sorry, not to diminish what you just said, Chad.
Doohickey.
But I did.
You old pirate.
You old pirate. How you doing, Chewbacca?
What have we here?
Oh, a lovely lady in some Colt 45.
Some Admiral Akbar's New England style clam chowder.
Hey, I'm Lando Calrissian, administrator of the...
And maker of Admiral Akbar's New England clam chowder.
What was it? It was not General Mills. It was General Calrissian.
Totally.
Yes.
That would be the best, dude, if he was this spokesperson for the chowder.
Oh, totally.
Because he was always so sexy, dude.
Yeah, man.
Well, whoa, what have we here? A pretty lady.
And what have we here?
I'm Lando Calrissian, administrator of this facility. And you might remember me from such ads as Admiral Akbar's New England clam chowder and Colt 45.
I love how it was just like, I'm Lando Calrissian, pause, administrator of this facility.
That's the way you do it on a commercial, dude.
It's so nonchalant.
I'm Lando Calrissian, administrator of these facilities.
That's it. Oh, my fuck. I love it.
Totally.
Administrator of these facilities.
And lover of Colt 45.
And creamy chowder.
This deal's getting worse all the time.
How the fuck do we get on this?
I have no idea.
I don't either, but I love it. It's a worthy bits and bobs bit.
It is. It's a worthy bit of madness. Okay, so
Count of Monte Cristo.
Next, Robert. Yeah, so Count of Monte Cristo, Chad. Yeah, I was doing some reading, and they were just talking about the parallels between this and Count of Monte Cristo. And I hadn't even really thought of it because, I know that you're a fan of that movie, and I'm a big fan of that movie.
Huge fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that movie, and there's so many parallels between the two stories as well.
Yep.
Like, like they're both like, these oppressed dudes that spend, years and years plotting their revenge, man. It's like the exact same idea.
Mm-hmm.
So really cool tie-in there, man. And I like the use of, that original version of the film, the black and white
definitely.
film. Really good. And then like the sword fight and all of that stuff too.
I love how V is obsessed with revenge and obsessed with Monte Cristo, and then watches it with Evie, just like we all do. We're like, hey, watch this movie with me, and the other person's like, yeah, that's pretty good. And you're just like, no, it's the best movie ever. I like how she kind of was just like, yeah, it's kind of sad, and he's like, what do you mean? I liked how she pointed something out that he didn't pick up from it because he was so obsessed with the revenge part.
Well, that's why he thought it had a happy ending, was because of the revenge.
Yeah,
part.
exactly. Like, it's great.
I really like the V speech after he dials in Jordan Tower.
Yeah, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I mean, it's not I just the way he lays it all out is great.
It gets you fired up.
Definitely, man. It comes at a good point in the movie.
It's very Rage Against the Machine-y, which in its time was also got me very fired up.
Oh yeah, totally. I was a huge fan of Rage.
Rage.
I heard Zach De La Rocha wrote that speech.
Yeah?
Which one?
A lot of people don't know
which
this,
speech?
but
Wait, which speech, Ben?
V's.
The speech that, V speech that Chad was just talking about.
You mean the one on the TV in the...
Do you mean the one that you just said as your nugget? Yes.
Yes.
No, that's what I'm trying to confirm. Yes. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, totally
dude,
different.
he has a lot of speeches, man.
The one that we're talking
I
about right
understand.
now.
The one that we're talking about right now.
Well, how do you know that he wrote it? I don't even understand that.
I'm
Like, what do you mean?
just
He's fucking joking
just
with
made
you,
that up.
jackass.
Oh, dude. So my head's in a totally different place. Sorry.
I noticed. Hey, I
You're
really
my
like that
density.
speech that V gave. Ben's like, yeah, Zach De La Rocha wrote that. What? Wrote what? What did he write? There's been a lot of speeches in human history, Ben. You need to be more specific.
I wasn't referring to all of the speeches in the entirety of humanity, dude. I was talking about the speeches in the movie.
Likely story.
Yeah.
What speech?
No, the real one of the show.
JFK's
is
we go to the
laughing.
Yeah.
moon not because we That was Zach De La Rocha.
Zach De La Rocha wrote JFK's Jelly Donut speech.
Yeah. Interesting factoid is
I am a Belena.
interesting factoid. Zach De La Rocha was responsible for a lot of
All the speeches.
best speeches.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, I love it. Good stuff. The essence of this show is pointing out our own stupidity.
We're good at it.
There's a whole lot of it.
Oh, yep. It doesn't taste very good, but it's hot. There's plenty of it.
Yes.
All right.
Sticks to your ribs.
I think,
I haven't chimed in a minute.
yeah, go ahead.
If we're still in bits and bobs territory,
Definitely.
got to give it up for the whole Valerie story.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just such a punch you right in the old feel nuggets kind of thing going on there.
No doubt.
so good, man. The flashbacks, the music, like all of that whole thing, man. Her like scrambling into the cell over to the wall to like pull the note out to read the next part of it, man. You know, it's just so cool and so powerful. And then, you know, right when you like she gets out of the whole prison ordeal, dude, and he's like, you know, I want to show you something. And he shows her like this, the shrine is just,
Fuck.
it's just bananas, man. And it just makes it hit even harder. You know what I mean? Like how important she is in the movie. And she's not even in the movie. You know what I mean? Like she's essentially has been dead in the timeline of the movie. You know, we really only know her through flashbacks. Like that is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super powerful. Fucks me up every time.
No doubt. I think, I don't know if it's because Hugo Weaving's so great, but there's just some fantastic lines in this movie, man. So good, I wrote a bunch of them down, which I don't usually. What's going on?
Oh yeah, don't remember any of them, but they were good.
I wrote a couple of them down. Like there's great dialogue in a lot of movies, but like I'm never compelled to write them down. I mean, sometimes I am, but this movie definitely, for sure. Like when she asks him about watching The Count of Monte Cristo, does it have a happy ending? And he goes, "As only celluloid can deliver." It's so perfect, man. You know, like he's always got this like eloquence and this sort of searing sarcasm going on at the same time, you know, or he's like teetering on the edge of it. It's just great.
That circles back to the Monte Cristo thing, though, in my mind, where like his attitude and demeanor in this movie is totally taking an influence from, you know, that golden era of acting for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like he's that, like he says in the beginning, you know, in the Many V's speech is like
the caricature,
vaudevillian.
Yeah,
it's that vaudevillian kind of caricature. Yeah, very, very cool.
Visage.
Yes.
What other lines you got?
One of the other ones I really liked is the translation of the Latin on the mirror.
Oh,
when
yeah.
she's cleaning it. By the power of truth, I, while living, have conquered the universe. And he always quotes who he's quoting as well. You know, so he's constantly quoting from like, you know, these great works of literature or works of theater, man. And it's just well integrated in the story. And Hugo Weaving's delivery is just fantastic.
Little nugget on that
stress that
mirror
enough.
where the Latin is misspelled in the film, but it's also misspelled in the comic. So a little throw out to the comic, which is cool.
Ooh, nice. Like that. Yeah, that's about all I got for bits and bobs.
Okay. I would like to throw out the soldier scene at the end as a really cool, I don't know, I suppose just bit and bob, where the soldiers are like, we don't know what to do, and you think they're just going to mow down all these people, and they walk straight through them. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It totally seems
was really
plausible and like, for whatever reason, I think
But it's
that not being a massacre, it just makes it so much more powerful. And it's believable.
Well, I think also, what's that? Sorry.
And it's believable.
Yeah, and I think too that like the build up to it, like it's not long, it's not overly drawn out, but there's this definitely build of tension as like you see they keep cutting back and forth between the people walking towards and the soldiers like waiting, and it's like the anxiety starts getting ratcheted up and the tension starts getting ratcheted up, you know, and it's like they walk right through them, and it's just it's such a great resolution to that little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That build up. And I agree. I liked it like that too.
Yeah.
And her at the end, you know, like saying, you know, it's like, who was he? He was you, he was me, he was everybody. You know, like that only reinforces the whole idea of him being an idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or personifying an idea. I had read one little blurb that said, you know, he uses the mask to hide his, you know, his facial features because he's disfigured from the fire. In the act of not revealing his face, he himself becomes the idea. I think I got that right. Which is just a really cool aspect of the movie. We touched on it from a couple of different angles before.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
And the
I mean, yes.
Yes, and the taking off of the masks, you know, where a lot of the dead characters in the film are in the crowd.
Oh, I love that, man. Absolutely love that. Glasses girl, Valerie, whole thing.
Mom and dad.
Yeah.
Wilford Brimley.
Totally.
Wilford's there, yeah.
Oh my God. It would have been so great if Brimley was in the crowd.
Yep.
Because that's really what Sutter needed, was a stern talking to.
That's all he needed.
And then afterward, a bowl of oatmeal.
And a cinnamon roll.
And a basket of fries.
And a fascist cinnamon roll.
A fascist cinnamon roll. In the shape of a square with the flag painted on it in icing.
That's it.
It's so great.
A bits and bobs that's nothing to do with this movie, and maybe this gets cut, but
perfect.
I just want to I want to throw out a infinite amount of sympathy for Alec Baldwin. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Oh man,
that crazy shit.
Oh man, yeah. I finally read a little bit of that at the end of the day, and I was like, God,
it's fucked.
He's been one of my favorite actors for a long time, and I was that's messed up, man.
It's so fucked. Like,
it really is
so fucked. I'm sure he will never be the same after that, but it's just, so much sympathy for that whole situation. It sounds like a complete safety debacle.
OSHA fail.
There's nothing really more to say there, but I just kind of wanted to send some love his way, man. Fuck.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Yeah.
Always been a fan.
And the family of the lady that died, obviously.
Good Lord, yes. Jesus. So terrible.
But on that note.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
On that note, are we ready for nuggets?
I don't have any. I dropped a couple.
I got one.
Go for it.
Yeah, same. This is you'll like this. The domino scene.
Yeah, I got a gripe about that, man.
Okay. Well, it took it required 22,000 dominoes, and it took 4 professional domino assemblers 200 hours to set it up.
That's crazy.
Which blows my mind.
Wow.
Is it mean to want to make fun of people that are professional domino layers?
No, yes and no. I don't know, man. I mean, that's about as nerdy as it gets, and the show is all about nerdery, so
that's fair.
I don't really see how we could justify that complaint, but hey. I mean, I don't know, like, let's see, 200 hours. That's, just over 4 straight days, man.
Well, there's 4 of them.
Like that, huh?
It was 50 hours. It was 50 hours for 4 people.
Right. Like I said.
Math magic.
Just over 4 days. I'm a different kind of magician, kids. I'm a math magician.
Math magician. I don't know, man. That domino scene, just like, it was so on the nose, I couldn't handle it.
It was so great, man. It was so great. Like the sheer volume of the dominoes and like the flicking of the finger and watching the whole thing, unravel, and him grabbing the last one.
The last one, him being like,
perfect.
Let me grab that last one. That's me. I'm like, all right, dude.
that is what he was
so
thinking,
on the fucking
man.
Nose. He's like, I am so sassy. Perfect domino execution.
And I take the last one because that's me sitting in the middle, not falling down.
Last man standing.
Duh. Where are my knives?
It would have been great if it didn't.
Have you seen my knives?
If it didn't work.
Dude. What do you, like, if only like half of it went.
It stopped like a third of the way through.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of sitting there, like rubbing his masked chin, like,
No. Ben,
What went wrong?
Do over.
No. He flicks it, and it only goes halfway, and then we get a shot of his face, and he does like one of those like slight head turns, and he goes, "Yes."
Yeah. Just throws knives at it.
There you go. Even better. Okay, so nuggets. What's next?
That's it, man.
One nugget.
One solitary nugget.
About fucking the stupidest domino scene
Big
ever.
Fused nugget.
All right, deaths. This is a very interesting week of deaths.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was, I would say, 75% populated by Star Wars deaths alone.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but Chad, you had one early in the show. I had one not long after. Then Ben had, then I had a Matrix death. Then Ben had the Star Wars Padawan death. And then, oh man, that Sutter Holmes thing was great. Sutter Holmes cinnamon rolls. Also, then there was like a group Star Wars death. And then a Chad Matrix death. And then then me and Chad had another Star Wars death. And then Ben and I had the the density of yes death. And that was it. So it's a lot of deaths, man. We finally like lived up to our show title.
I love it.
More so than we have in a while. Anyway, ratings.
I'm glad I considered not watching this again, considering I watched it a few months ago, and I'm glad I watched it again because I was very sassy squirrel last time I watched this.
Was this one already on the algorithm? Or
Yeah. I've chosen to leave it where it is. So it was previously on the algorithm at a 6.8.
Wow.
It's up there. It actually is. Lethal Weapon a week or two ago was a 7, so it's up in that territory. I do think Lethal Weapon is a better movie. I don't know. I feel like this one isn't as of an era as like a Snatch, but I'm curious how it will age 20 years from now, for example.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about Snatch. I don't really feel like it defines an era like that. But
I mean, this
Clearly
totally
it'll
like
be on the censored list.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly right.
This one definitely defines part of the Bush era, in my view. I think it really fits with the Bush era frustration at that time, and then I think like now with all of the craziness around the world, like it just feels a bit naive, I guess, and maybe like as I mentioned earlier in the show, like when you're a 20-something-year-old idealistic person who doesn't really know how the world works, you can be naive and be like, yeah, like I was talking about.
And you can go to your room and put on some Rage Against the Machine.
And so there's just something there, but I enjoyed watching it this time. It's a 6.8. It's worth checking out again. It holds up.
More Zach De La Rocha's speeches.
De La Rocha's speeches. And the glass is half empty. Fuck you. I hate you. Bye.
Wow. Ben?
Yeah. Well,
okay, Wilford, lay it out, dude.
I think I'll go with, I think I had said earlier that like, it's not so much the subject matter that I really enjoy about this movie. It's the way they tell the story and the acting and, the peripheral stuff, I guess, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Definitely, dude. I know exactly what you mean.
This being my second viewing, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to take anything away from it. I'm going to go with an 8.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really good. I think the only thing that would take away, I kind of barfed it all out at the beginning, I've seen this too many times to count, and it's so good, and I get more out of it as the viewings go, and I've gotten even more out of it just talking about it with the two of you. Excellent everything. Music, acting, writing. I love that they made the story different, veered away from the original property, and still made it a good movie and still sort of made the point the same. It was a great accomplishment. It's just so enjoyable to watch, the whole package, and the way, like Ben said, the way the story is told. If there's anything to take away, it's what we already said, which is Natalie's sort of drop of accent here and there in the movie. Otherwise, I'd give it a 10. It's a 9.5.
Nice.
I love it. It's classic. I watch it anytime. It's so enjoyable.
I like how it's a 10 except for Natalie Portman's accent knocks a half point off it. I love it.
I feel like I've been just like tanning out a lot lately.
Yeah.
So,
Gotta rein it in a little bit.
you know, I guess I don't know. So I was like, yeah, I got to rein it in a little bit. Like, I'm not gonna let this slide this time.
Yeah, Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie.
Yeah, fair enough. 9.5.
9.5. So there you have it, folks. V for Vendetta. And whatever your name is. What are we doing next week?
We are finally
Hey,
going
what's your
to
name?
do the new Dune.
Wait, what is it again? Slyclops?
Slyclops.
Cyclops.
Slyclops.
The new Dune. The new Dune is what we're
The
doing.
new Dune. Wow. That sounds exciting.
Did Johnny Carson just show up for a second?
Yeah. No, it's more like Dana Carvey's poor impression of Johnny Carson, which makes it even poorer.
Did you just leave the never mind.
What?
Did you just have the slippery monkey at the hook and crook?
I get negative. A 1957 Buick Skylark and a diseased yak.
Jesus.
Okay, that's enough.
This one's 130.
So, Chad, what are we doing next week?
Dune.
That was a joke. Folks, thanks for joining us for V for Vendetta. Join us next week for Dune, the new Dune. And that's it. Penny for the guy.
See ya.
See ya.
Ta-ta.
Hope you had a good time. Ba-da-dum. Hope you had a good morning. Da-da. Hope you have a real good time. And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. Thank you for joining us as always. If you'd like to support the show, there's a number of great ways you can do so. You can do so on Patreon. That's right. Patreon.com/EBD podcast. You can also rate us or review us or both on iTunes or wherever you procure your podcasts. And as always, you can tell your friends to check out the show. It's a very powerful way to grow the show. Word of mouth. You can find the show notes for this episode in your podcast app of choice or at our website, ebd.fm/episodes/130. Am I 3 for 3? Is that right?
Yep.
Nice. Folks, don't forget to join us on social. We use the handle at EBD Podcast everywhere. We spend time on Instagram. Love to have you join in on the conversation. That's it. Thanks for joining us for this V for Vendetta episode. See you next week for Dune. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
One for seeing, two for
One for C-Lab, two for Troy Eagle, three for Bubba Ray to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Beady, beady, beady. Yeah. Well,
See ya. Hope you had a good time. Hope you'll have a good morning. Hope we get to see you again. See ya. Hope you had a good time. Hope you'll have a good morning. Hope we get to see you again. See ya. Glad that you could stay a while. Glad that we could say good morning to ya. Hope you'll have a shiny